Hi everyone, it's Ronette Parker from Ronette Parker ABA, and today is day 7 of our 20 questions in 20 days. Our next question is a question in regards to ABC charts, and I know I had touched on them briefly in a past video and in some of my blogs. So an ABC chart is an antecedent behavior consequence chart, and it's a tool used in ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, as documentation we can use when a child is showing a behavior but we don't know what the function of the behavior is. Remember what I told you in a past video is all behavior is a form of communication and serves a purpose. So we're trying to find out what the behavior they're exhibiting, what it's trying to communicate to us, and what purpose it is fulfilling for the child. So ABC, antecedent, behavior, and consequence. Antecedent is the what happened right before the behavior, something that happened that might have triggered the behavior. Behavior is what the child does, so whatever behavior they're exhibiting, and then consequence is what happens directly after the behavior. We use this tool so that we can see a pattern in what's going on with the behavior. I know I had talked about before, if a child is having an aversive behavior when a teacher is asking them to do math, for example. We don't know that the child doesn't like math. We don't know what this behavior is serving, and that's a big part of ABA. We can't assume that we know what the function of the behavior is. We have to make sure we're taking data so that we can see what the function is of it. Otherwise, we can totally get on a different path and it won't serve the child when we try to come up with strategies to help them. So we would take documentation. Typically what happens is we take documentation on the behavior when we first step in to work with the child, because we don't know what the antecedent is yet. So we can document the behavior. Then we can figure out, okay, what just happened? We'll write down what happens in the A chart, write down the behavior in the B chart, and then the C chart, the consequence. So what happened? Consequence has a negative connotation a lot of the time. It doesn't mean what the consequence, like a punishment. It means what happened after. Did the child throw a chair? Did the child leave the room? Another thing we need to know is, it's very important for all of us to understand, is that there's 4 main functions of behavior. So the behavior, the purposes that it's going to fall under is typically 4 different categories, and that's going to be to escape something in the environment or an activity, to avoid something that's being asked of them or a situation that they don't want to go into, to attention seeking. So I know I've had some students that they simply want my attention, so they'll exhibit behaviors to get it, knowing that they're not really functional behaviors that's going to give them my attention in a positive way. We're going to have to talk about how we can change that behavior so that they can get the outcome they want. And then the 4th one is access to an item or activity. So typically a behavior, anyone's behavior, any human's behavior will fall into those categories. So that's basically in a couple minutes what the ABC chart is. Now I find that there's some disadvantages and there's some advantages of using this tool. It can be used on all children, but sometimes it's going to take longer. That's one of the advantages of it, is that it can be used across settings with all children. Some of the disadvantages is that it does take a long time and you have to be really, really consistent. And if you're not there doing it, it has to be someone who's trained to do it, another person who's working with the child, and they know how to do it. Because if it's not done properly, then it's really a pointless tool to even use. So it does take a lot of time and you have to be really consistent. pretty much like with anything in life, consistency is what you want. And we have to make sure that if it's something we're doing as an interaction with a child, then those are little things. If I'm the one taking the documentation and I'm the one that's triggering the behavior, there are little things I can see that I'm doing that I can tweak a little bit. So that's some of the advantages of using the ABC chart. I can't wait to get more questions from you all. I'm going to talk about this more in another blog, more in depth. I hope you like what you're hearing, and if you do, check out my Facebook page, Ronette Parker ABA. Click like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now in a couple days, I'm going to bring up another platform that I'm creating that I'm really excited about, and it's kind of going to take Ronette Parker ABA to a different level, and I'm really excited about that. I'm also going to be posting a blog tomorrow morning, and it's what SDC is right for my child. Now, that's a hot topic because there's as many SDC classrooms as there are personalities, and it comes down to the teacher's personality and the methodology they adhere to. So I go into how I taught my classroom for 10 years and how you can you can observe, you can gauge, you can ask as many questions as you like to make sure that this is a good fit for your child. Also, there's a lot of controversy out there with ABA, and I don't want you to get scared off about that. I want you to be able to see that there's some teachers like myself who did teach ABA, I still do, but I'm kind of labeled myself more mindful ABA because I like to take the child as a person and use their strengths and gifts to help with their weaknesses. And I like to use a lot of humor with them and teach them humor and some aspects of sarcasm so that they can better adhere to communication out in the world and not feel left out of conversations with maybe some of their mainstream peers. So that's just a couple of things that are coming up with RonnetteParkerABA.com. So stay tuned, and I can't wait to hear from you all. Have a wonderful day and shine on. Bye.